When I see the expressions on the faces of like the heads of post productions of the showrunners, they're like, "What?" That's where I'm like, "Oh yes, Evan. Yes, I'll be your partner. Let's make this happen." We've seen kind of this backlash against DEI or whatever is going on with the new administration. That stuff has been broken since it started, because anytime when you're doing these compliance-driven programs and that doesn't work, like, we need different types of people for innovation. It was always there, and really communicating through visuals and storytelling is something that really I took into every business through the decades I've been working.
Welcome to The Growth Switch, the podcast where we explore the strategies, struggles, and breakthroughs of bold business leaders. I'm your host, Jules Fox, growth strategist and lead content creator at Ari's Media. I'm here to uncover how today's top brands are scaling, overcoming challenges, and unlocking sustainable success. Now, for those of you just tuning in, Ari's Media helps grow successful brands with comprehensive, hands-on support for sales, business development, and performance marketing. Go ahead and drop growth into the comments if you want to learn how to do that. Today, we have David Leighton on the podcast, and he is the co-founder of WITI and StoneAI. He's a veteran AI strategist of many years' experience. He's a workforce transformation pioneer and visual storytelling innovator. He brings over 35 years of transformative leadership at the intersection of technology, creativity, and community. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jules. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So you started WITI back in the 90s. What was your background and what was the market fit made you want to bring that to life?
It was the 80s, but who's counting? Thank you, Jules.
80s. Oh, man. Okay.
Too young to have possibly done it in the 80s. Thank you. But so no, we had a company, Criterion Research. My mom had started, I was a year into college. She had gotten a couple big contracts and asked me to help her with a few things. So started there. We worked with tech companies, Silicon Valley, and then down in LA, we're based, is mostly aerospace and defense, doing research for them on product and identifying people that had core competencies in different areas of tech that they could recruit, partner with, buy their companies. So that was the predecessor to WITI. WITI started in 89, right as email was just starting to get into the mainstream. And it was really about building community. She had the idea because some of the numbers that came out about women advancing in corporate America were very low, even though women were just about half the workforce then. So she wanted to start WITI as a community. I helped her, supported that. At the same time, I took over Criterion Research, turned us mostly into a retained search firm. When I met Philippe Kahn and Borland was growing in the early PC software days. That's where we started. Yeah.
Well, you've come a long way. And how did that transition into launching StoneAI?
Well, I think with StoneAI, through all of the, the pre-web, the post-web, while AI was always the biggest, business of the decade until us as users really didn't see it come out till OpenAI released ChatGPT, it was always there. And really communicating through visuals and storytelling is something that really I took into every business through the decades I've been working. It worked. I met Evan B. Stone, who's my partner in that business, who had started probably right when I started in the late 80s, creating movies, directing, editing, filmmaking. He had started coming to some of my AI classes, and he showed me what he had been doing since OpenAI came out, because there's this major disruption in the entertainment space. And that's where we started StoneAI to really create storytelling with provenance, so that we're able, it's really data driven, and it's an exciting time.
Yeah. So how does that work? Like how do companies work best with StoneAI? Like what is the value add that you're able to bring to them?
Sure. So what we do with StoneAI, so we've been working mostly with entertainment companies. So it could be reenactments. We're working on one show for a major network where we're able to take the patents that were created, and then because there's such detail in the patents, we can then turn them into a visual so that people can see how they were created and what they are. And we build whole storyboard stories around that. Pretty much have automated that process. We also have cybersecurity. My background's also in the cybersecurity space. So I was able to bring in our partners that have this new technology, CyberBear. So now we're able to wrap tags around every bit that goes in that our AI reenactments are created from to trace them back to the rightful IP owner, which is just a big part of, I think, what we'll see going forward through a lot of this disruption that I think is happening in every industry now.
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
AI.
and I think people don't understand the breadth, the depth of AI, or even what it's useful for. And you facilitate these weekly AI think tanks. So what are some of the recurring challenges or misconceptions around AI integration that leaders just haven't seemed to grasp yet?
I think, I think when it first came out, it was like, oh no, I can write. I don't want to use AI, or kids are cheating on their tests, or right, or stuff like that. The advancement of the tools are pretty amazing. How you can structure prompts, how I can go through gigs of data, whether it's a client I'm researching, or sometimes I want to review their last few quarterly reports and then have a proposal ready that really talks to what their 3 to 5 year goals are. I think that may be some of the areas people aren't necessarily thinking about. And then you have all these video tools and podcast creation tools or audio creation tools. It's just sky's the limits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just to empower the humans. And I think back, because we were originally talking about recruitment, back when I started way back, I used to have these things, the Corp Tech directories. I'm sure none of the users probably even heard of these but they're basically encyclopedias that I had to go through to figure out what companies did these specialized technologies. Then I'd call 411, or I'd try to look for 2 patent searches on who created the stuff to find the people. Now with tools like LinkedIn, which I think has been, it's been kind of a little over kind of career centerized how people are using it. I think it's just for that. The amount of data there is phenomenal.
Mhm.
So I think with AI, it's a couple things. Number one, people are automating their reach outs and stuff and content. So it's creating a big kind of clog, I think, in the system, and people are just getting way too much info. But you can really use AI if you can hone in on who you want relationships with and what companies you want to work with, to then create kind of that more personalized messaging that I think it's something that you just can't really automate, but you could use AI to empower yourself.
Right. Right. And AI itself is a tool. And for instance, with StoneAI, you have tools in there, Context 360, the frame shift protocol. Why don't you walk me through a few of those tools if you think it would be valuable, and we could show people what do they actually do?
Hey, look, we automate processes to enable storytelling with provenance, right? So we can track everything back to where it happened. So Context 360, as we're looking at where that comes into play, is some of our applications for like post-production, right? Normally people, they have humans watching 20 hours of tape to then figure out where the parts are they want to grab. Our AI and what we built with Evan's brilliance as a cinematographer is, so now we've just automated that piece so we can go in and understand the context and the mood of these different sequences, right? Or what's in this huge number of hours that they'll normally record to get, a 30-minute or hour-long show.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Weirdly enough, actually, I've been in the editing rooms. My first 10 years was a decade in Hawaii and Hollywood, on different shows with all the different studios. And I mean, I can tell you, it's 100x. If you have a 30-minute show, you have 100x that much footage, and it's insane.
Right. And there just hasn't been an easy way to do that. And what we've been able to do, and it's kind of like Evan plus AI, is create. So we can just take the dailies, timestamp them, figure out where the different shifts are in the story, and just do that in a matter of less than an hour, when it used to be days or weeks, as you know, Jules.
Right. For the right person hearing that is a mind-blowing statistic. For other people, they're like, oh, it takes more than an hour to do something like that? Oh my God. Yeah, it does. Teams.
I see this. I've been talking to like showrunners. I mean, I'm more come from tech, but I grew up in San Fernando Valley. I got lots of friends and the post-production companies and stuff. But when I see the expressions on the faces of like the heads of post productions of the showrunners, they're like, "What?" That's where I'm like, "Oh yes, Evan. Yes, I'll be your partner. Let's make this happen."
Yeah, that's amazing. So, a lot of times you emphasize trust and influence in workforce innovation. So how does that factor into leadership in AI, especially when you're closing alignment gaps between the humans, between the machines? You're bringing these things together.
Right. I think that it's a great opportunity now to empower your people with AI. I know some companies are looking at it. How can we cut costs? How can we hit our short term numbers? A lot of people are being affected by that. I think they're not, they're just doing a disservice, not only to their business and where it'll grow, because there's still a lot of unknowns. And sometimes now it's whether it's just Wall Street pressuring them if they're a public company or investors, they'll want to do things for short term gains. But as we know, and I'm sure many of your audience, like finding great people is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think job boards, when LinkedIn came in, I paused my recruitment business for many years. I'm just like, there's no way everybody's just going to put their information on LinkedIn. Then, like, one of my top people I place is like head of chief architect of Lotus 123 sends me a LinkedIn profile. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. But so, and now I think it's kind of coming full circle where if they want to hire those great people, and if you want to retain those great people, empower them with AI, help them use their brilliance or whatever their expertise is in, and then train the AI so you can just have faster systems and be more effective. For every job that's lost and that will be cut, and there's going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of them, there will be new jobs. And I think, for us as a community at WITI, it is about empowering people with AI, helping them understand it's not us versus them. It's like, how do you give yourself superhuman strength by leveraging these tools in an effective way?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. And ultimately, sometimes when you're selling somebody something, you're not selling them a product, you're selling them a transition, like a mindset shift, right? Because I think a lot of these people are like, oh, well, we don't want to cheapen the process. We don't want it to sound like AI. We don't want it to look like AI. And we're like, oh no, the AI is so deeply embedded in everything that we do. This is not about your movie looking like it's an AI movie. That this is about this is about shaving hours off of every single step of the process. So what is that mindset shift that you're selling? How are you able to connect the right decision makers to embrace that future?
Well, I think they see it, right? I think just with what happened, whether it was the pandemic and just shifts, with all the different screens people consume entertainment from, budgets are getting tight. They still want high quality. So there's just many areas of AI, right? We saw the strikes happen. We saw a lot of fear of unknown happening in that space. But I think everything from running productions more efficiently to saving money on daily edit and just edit of the programs. If they miss a shot, rather than packing up the whole crew and going back to South America, or they have to do crazy things in some cases. Now there are ways you can do that with AI, still compensate the actors that and the crew that's participated in those, but just make it more efficient, healthier for the earth and sustainability. So I think people aren't just, I think it's been very polarizing, especially in entertainment, but once people kind of get it and we say, we're not here to replace you, we're here to like enhance your creativity and have you do stuff you didn't even think was possible. That's when their eyes light up. And it's everybody from kind of the younger up and coming director, producer, to some of these guys that have been doing stuff for decades that were so against AI until we're able to just sit down and show them a few things and have a communication.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the choose your own adventure books where you could choose your own destiny, right? And I always thought, so then when I got into film, I thought, what they should do is they should have choose your own adventure movies. And now with the invention of like how Netflix has, they kind of customize your experience. You get on there and they know what you're probably going to want to watch next. They're pretty good at that. And now, with some of the tools like StoneAI, I have a feeling that you could probably choose your own ending as well for a certain movie. If you're into something, you could see basically this popular thing that everybody else is seeing, but a slightly different version of it. And I think that would be an interesting, right now it's very linear. If there's a TV show, if there's a film, this is the only version of it unless you get the director's cut, right? But it would be
Right.
interesting in the future to see, well, actually, if you're into happy endings, this one has a happy ending. If you're into sad endings, or maybe they could even go back and do Game of Thrones, season 8, you could go back there and shift it a little bit and make it good.
No, I like that. You can attach the actors to it so
Yeah.
they can get compensated, right? But you could really reinvent them as characters. Yeah, and just do things so you don't have to go back to, I forgot where they filmed Game of Thrones. I know it was like Finland or Norway.
Croatia, for sure. I went to some
Yeah.
of those locations. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah, my buddy runs a lot of that at HB. And so it's crazy how he'd go and he does all the deals with the countries to get the gigs.
Yeah.
But just the productions they had, right? And White Lotus, like that's another show and then there you saw different models, right? Where they used influencers to launch it. I think they were all at the Four Seasons in Calabasas, I think. And they were just tweeting away. And then it was the biggest thing that happened there.
Yeah.
Right?
Even down here in San Diego, we had a whole White Lotus event that it was a pop-up event and nobody expected it or knew it. They had completely at one of these Hiltons, they had remodeled the whole pool area to be like a White Lotus thing. And people were like, hey, what is this? This is pretty cool, Yeah.
And you have a Comic-Con down there this week, I think, Jules, right?
We do. Yeah, we have Comic-Con. That's always interesting because it also overlaps with my anniversary. So I'm always like, where are we going to eat? Selfishly, how am I going to get booked into a good restaurant,
Right.
Yeah. So how do you envision growing over the next 12 months? Like in the next year, what is the growth? Obviously, AI massively changing things. We have a lot of these decision makers who formerly were against AI, and now they're looking at how much time and money they can save and increase the quality. But how can you best connect with these people? How are you onboarding more of these people?
I think there's a few things. So on the WITI side, we I merged the two companies together about 3 years ago. And so WITI did stand for Women in Technology International, now stands for Workforce Innovation, Trust and Influence. We've seen kind of this backlash against DEI or whatever is going on with the new administration. That stuff has been broken since it started because anytime when you're doing these compliance driven programs and that doesn't work, like we need different types of people for innovation. So I think that's one opportunity for people and leverage AI on the candidate side, choose where they want to go and make yourself marketable.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll continue to grow. And I think just get into just turning us into an AI training empowerment company and just post pandemic and people working siloed and being lonely. That's one thing. Stone AI, it's been pretty amazing how like our phone is just ringing now because people are starting to hear what we do, mostly because they know Evan from his experience in film. So we're slowly just seeing the big studios understand AI and accept it. And again, not to replace people, not an all AI movie. I mean, maybe there'll be spots for that eventually, but just how they can run stuff efficiently and tell a better story with what they have in a more efficient way. So what we're doing is just trying to manage the growth because it's a little crazy right now.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So, clearly you have a good product, you have a good process. Once you do hook up these people to the right thing, it's going to be, it's going to be a good fit. Thought exercise. If you had a magic wand and you could just destroy the one roadblock, the biggest roadblock for your company, what would that be? The one thing that's holding back growth.
Yeah, right. Right now, I think it's lack of understanding of AI. Right. And just from a legal standpoint, we have a lot of that stuff figured out, but I kind of have to have the same conversation with many of the different production companies. Yeah, and just, funding as we're growing fast. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think that we're in a good spot, but it's just like, having AI, now it's like I can do the work of 3 people. Yeah. So I work too much, Jules. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, hanging out with some of my mergers and acquisitions friends. They're always just like, the biggest thing is you got to figure out how to replace yourself. You got to figure out how to grow, how to replace yourself, move up to the next position, replace yourself, move up to the next position, replace yourself, then sell.
Totally. And I think, look, agents, we're entering the time of agents now. So I think that it's going to be, yeah, an exciting time just with everything going on.
Yeah. So how can people best connect with you? How can they best find out what you're offering?
Sure. D Leighton at StoneAIholdings.com is probably the best email.
Mhm.
LinkedIn, all the other social media.
Sure.
Yeah. Or come to WITI and be a member. We have a lot of great, I just launched my LinkedIn session, 6 a.m. Pacific time for us, but we have people in Asia and Europe that like that. We had two West Coasters on my call this morning.
Yeah.
So,
It's a little early for us, but it is actually reasonable for other people. We just spent 3 weeks in traveling through Thailand and Cambodia. And it was that same thing. I would start my day at 6 a.m. Pacific time, which was a reasonable window of time. But for me, that's already 8 p.m. So,
right. And then, in Cambodia, since you bring that up, I just heard somebody who's head of the Cambodian broadcasting system. Yeah, CBS. So he told this great story where like everybody there just watches TV shows, and I think Master Chef's a big show there on the mobile devices.
Mhm.
And this guy, so he slowly started just on, not spending the money to broadcast through the public airways.
Mhm.
First, he did a couple hours. No one called to complain. Then he did more and more. And I think they've completely gotten rid of it. And and most people in Cambodia watch content through Facebook and through, I guess, just the wireless devices, right? So now these shows are being streamed and everything just through different ways of digesting content. So it's pretty exciting now, just how everything's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to keep those changes in mind. Yeah. So for all of the viewers, all the listeners of the show, go ahead and look right down in the show notes, and you're going to find all of the ways in which you can connect with David, with WITI, with Stone AI. You'll find the websites, you'll find his emails, you'll find the LinkedIn, you'll find all those good things right down below in the show notes. David, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Jules. I enjoyed it.